So Elon Musk recently gave out a friendly hand gesture to show that his heart goes out to the crowd, and apparently there's been a lot of hysteria with people accusing Elon Musk of being a Nazi. So that made me wonder, is Elon Musk really a neo-Nazi, and has he said anything that indicates that he might be a Nazi? So in September last year, Elon Musk reposted an interview between Tucker Carlson and Darryl Cooper. Darryl Cooper is a neo-Nazi, and Elon said that this interview was interesting and worth watching. In this interview, Darryl Cooper made the claim that Adolf Hitler wasn't actually the greatest villain of World War II. No, it was actually Winston Churchill. He was the main villain of the war. The Prime Minister of Britain, the guy who stood up to Hitler, he's the villain of the war, not Hitler, even though Hitler killed tens of millions of civilians in World War II, far more than any other country, and definitely far more than Britain. Darryl Cooper still said Churchill, biggest villain. Another thing Darryl Cooper did here was that he downplayed the atrocities and war crimes of the German military. He said Germany didn't have a plan for how it was going to feed all the people in the territory it conquered from Poland and Russia, etc. And so instead of letting these civilians just die a long and painful death of starvation, instead the Nazis decided to just give them a quick death to avoid all that suffering. That's what Darryl Cooper said, as if the Nazis were just being generous by rounding up and shooting or gassing millions and millions of Jewish civilians, Polish civilians, Russian, Ukrainian civilians. They were just being generous by having them shot or gassed to die a quick death rather than starve to death. The Nazis explicitly wanted to ethnically cleanse the Jewish people, the Polish people, the Eastern Slavic people. They explicitly wanted to get rid of them. They enslaved millions of them. If they were so generous to these civilians, why did they deport millions of them? Why would they enslave millions of them? Darryl Cooper also made a tweet where he said that France was better in the 1940s under Nazi rule than it is now. During Nazi rule, the Germans did mass executions of French civilians. They sent many of them to do forced slave labor. They sent some of them to camps to die of starvation. They sent others to gas chambers to be gassed to death. So I think France is doing better now than it was doing in the 1940s. But that's Darryl Cooper in this interview downplaying German war crimes and saying Winston Churchill was the greatest villain of World War II. Elon Musk reposted this interview between Darryl Cooper and Tucker Carlson. Elon said, interesting, worth a watch. So according to Elon Musk, neo-Nazis are interesting and worth listening to, and he promoted a Nazi propaganda video and publicly recommended it to tens of millions of people. Elon Musk also follows a Twitter account called I Am Yes You Are No. That's the name of the Twitter account. And this is a hardcore neo-Nazi account. He follows this guy. He's made comments agreeing with this guy. He's retweeted his posts. So that's also a bit dodgy. I mean, if you're not a Nazi, why are you following a Nazi account on Twitter? And speaking of Twitter, Elon Musk also unbanned several pro-Hitler neo-Nazi accounts, such as Nick Fuentes. He had been banned, but Elon unbanned him in the name of freedom of speech. And since then, Nick Fuentes has regularly posted anti-Jewish and pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi stuff on Twitter, and some of his posts get millions of views. He now has almost 500,000 followers. And so because Elon Musk has just unbanned all of these neo-Nazi accounts, for the past few months, Nazism has been going viral on Twitter. There's now loads of Twitter accounts who just post pro-Hitler Twitter posts that get millions and millions of views, and Elon Musk does not censor it, he doesn't even condemn it, and Elon Musk is largely responsible for a sudden, rapid rise in neo-Nazism in America, because he's just unbanned and deregulated all of these Nazi accounts, and you see them everywhere on Twitter now. I can't scroll through one Twitter feed without seeing posts on like, oh, Hitler was right, the Jews deserved it, the Nazis were great. It's everywhere now. Elon knows it's everywhere, and Elon just allows it to be everywhere. He has intentionally platformed and promoted neo-Nazis, like Darryl Cooper, encouraging people to watch him, and he has allowed and helped Nazism to just rapidly spread. Elon Musk also strongly supports a German political party called the AfD, which is not a Nazi party, but it's basically a Nazi party. Last year, the AfD party's leading candidate said that not all members of the SS should be seen as war criminals. And there's this one guy named Bjorn Hock, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a member of the AfD, and he won an election last year in one of the German states. And he's been charged with using a Nazi slogan, which is illegal in Germany. But even after being charged, he insists on continuing to use this Nazi slogan. And a few years ago, this Bjorn guy called for a 180-degree turn from the German tradition of remembering and atoning for the Nazi era. he moaned and complained about the Berlin Holocaust Memorial and said Germans are the only people in the world who plant a monument of shame in the heart of their capital. Well, obviously, you should have a memorial remembering and reminding people of Germany's genocide against millions of civilians. Like, that's the least you can do. Just remember the victims of the Holocaust. But this AFD guy just complains that this is putting shame on the German people and we need to end this tradition. So the AFD is just a rapidly growing party in Germany that attracts a lot of Nazis and a lot of white supremacists. And one of their main messages is that Germans should just take pride in their culture again and they shouldn't be ashamed of their history. And Elon Musk has just been massively supporting this party, saying the AFD is the only way forward. You must vote AFD. It's the only party that can save Germany. And it's kind of a Nazi party. And he even virtually attended an AFD rally just days after doing his friendly hand gesture. So Elon Musk also sparked a lot of outrage when he made this other tweet saying, "You have said the absolute truth." So basically, one guy made a post condemning people on Twitter who say Hitler was right. And then this other guy said, "Oh, well, Jews have been pushing the exact same kind of hatred against whites. I'm deeply disinterested in giving the tiniest shit about those Western Jewish populations." So this guy, Eric, is saying that Jews push the exact same kind of hatred on whites that Nazis push on Jews, which is kind of bullshit because saying Hitler was right means you agree with Hitler gassing and shooting and starving 6 million Jewish civilians to death. And neo-Nazis are constantly praising and promoting Hitler, calling for a mass deportation of Jews, promoting the killing of Jews. And I don't see Jews saying the same thing about whites. Like, he's saying Jews promote hatred against whites. I've really not seen any Jewish people advocating for the white race to be exterminated or mass deported or round up and gassed or shot. I don't see Jews saying that about white people. But a lot of white neo-Nazis say that stuff about Jews constantly and support Adolf Hitler. So Eric said all of that, and then Elon Musk responded to this tweet with, "You have said the actual truth." So it's not a Nazi tweet, but it's massively downplaying Nazi brutality and atrocities because it's conflating Jewish hatred against whites to whites saying Hitler was right. It's like, there are no Jews calling for a white Holocaust that I've seen, and I see a lot of whites calling for a second Holocaust. So it's just quite stupid to say Jews hate on whites as much as Nazis hate on Jews. Like, the Nazis are terrible with the shit they say. But Elon said, "Yeah, you're right, you've said the actual truth. Jews push just as much hate on whites as Nazis do on Jews." So I wouldn't use that tweet on its own and say, "Oh, because of this one tweet, Elon's definitely a Nazi." But it's the other things, like unbanning pro-Hitler accounts like Nick Fuentes, following neo-Nazi accounts like I Am Yes You Are No, strongly supporting the Nazi-like AFD in Germany, and encouraging people to listen to Daryl Cooper giving neo-Nazi talking points. So is Elon Musk a full-blown neo-Nazi, and did he intentionally give a Nazi salute? I don't know. Maybe not. But even if he's not a Nazi, he is the number one main person responsible for the rapid spread of Nazism in the West, mainly in America, but by platforming and promoting Nazis, encouraging people to listen to Nazis, following Nazi accounts, and allowing Nazis to run rampant on Twitter, get millions of views promoting pro-Hitler, pro-Holocaust, pro-Nazi stuff. By doing all of that, Elon Musk has knowingly allowed Nazism to become mainstream in America. I don't really care whether or not Elon is a Nazi. What I do care about is that he's responsible for the massive rise of Nazism, and now millions and millions more Americans have become neo-Nazis because of the actions of Elon Musk. And that is very, very concerning.